Good morning, beautiful people. I'm not even sure it's still morning. I don't know what time it is. I have no idea. I know it is cold and damp, and so I'm not standing out there by the pasture. It's kind of misty feeling. I'm not standing out there. As it is, it's kind of chilly, so I pulled out one of my shawls I made. Oh, I love this shawl. It's a long one, man. It is long. Look at this beautiful pattern on this. Isn't that pretty? I made this a long time ago. I was thinking, and I don't think I've told you, that my cat is blind. You remember Finn, the orange tabby cat that showed up in November 2014? So next month it'll be, the anniversary of when he showed up, being followed by one of my roosters, and everybody's freaking out and running for the coops, and I don't know why they were freaking out so much. And I noticed that one of my roosters, Deacon, well, that was a silly boy. You saw a picture of Deacon in my tribute to Isaac. He was one of Isaac's sons. Deacon was following something. He was going the opposite direction of everybody else. So my husband was looking at everybody running, and I said, Deacon's following something. I want to go see what he's following. Where's he going? He was headed down the trail toward the woods. And so here goes Deacon trekking off this way. Everybody's running that way. And I go trekking off after Deacon. And all of a sudden, I see this orange lump on the ground. And I said, it's a cat. So this cat jumps up and he trots off, and he trots down through the woods and and through my livestock fencing, across the power line easement road. And he steps on this fallen pine tree across the road, and he starts walking up the pine tree. Well, my husband and I go following him, and as the cat's walking up the log, my husband says, "Kitty," and the cat goes, "Meow," and he just answers. He says, "Come here, Kitty," and the cat turned around, came back through the fencing, came out, fell at our feet, and he's been here ever since. And of course, when it became apparent he was not going anywhere, he wasn't supposed to be an indoor cat. It's obvious he's well versed in the evasion of predators. And he, 2 weeks after he got here, we had him neutered. And the actual local humane society, which I tried to take him to, they said they had no room for any cats, but they would help me get him neutered. And I said, okay. So I appreciated that. Local Humane Society was actually founded by my realtor here. But he's been here ever since. And, I think in my I don't know if it's a book or what it's going to be, the one I've been writing is a whole chapter on Finn. Well, about a year ago, we noticed his eyes were very red. I mean, just like red. Both of them. And he was acting like it was bothering him, and we took him to the vet. And he said, well, he said, it looks like, it might be viral considering that it's both eyes. So he gave him some eye drops, and we did the eye drop thing, and after a while, he seemed like it was a little bit better, but then it was getting worse again. And it kept getting worse, and then one eye looked like maybe it was cloudy. And by the time we took him back, that vet had retired, and we weren't aware that he was retired. He was good, but the people he left in charge weren't as good. We weren't aware of that. We thought they were being supervised by the main vet. Well, they weren't. And they gave him drops, and then they said he had a cataract on one eye, and the other eye had a laceration in the middle of it. And they were giving him 2 types of drops, and this has been a long saga. And went on, and he wasn't getting better. Then this person decided to make a serum out of his own blood. She spun a serum, and we're supposed to give him drops of the serum made from his own blood 3 times a day, and that wasn't helping. It was not getting any better. So finally, after spending quite a bit of money, I said, these people don't know what they're doing. And this person was supposed to call and consult with some other veterinarians and call us back in 3 days. Well, 3 days came and went, 2 weeks came and went, and I said, call him back. He called him back and said, well, she's supposed to call me back. Can you have her call me? We never got another call. We'd call twice and they wouldn't call us back. I thought, well, I'm firing you. And so we went in search of another vet, and it turns out the vet that we suddenly thought of was the vet who owns the feed store that I got the Dirty Dozen Plus One from. He's the only vet. It was the only feed store that did not vaccinate their chicks for Merrick's disease. That's what I was looking for. The others did. So Dr. McLaren looked at Finn, and he did some tests. He did some tests with his fingers poking it at his eyes. He said, he's blind. He's already blind. And he said he's got glaucoma. There's extreme pressure in one eye, and there's a lot of pressure in the other one too. And he gave drops. And so we started on the drops again. Well, he had to go back, and they tested his thyroid. They're still trying to find the cause of his eye issue. And they even mentioned taking out the eyes. And we've observed him, and he's not 100% blind. He can see shadow and light, because if something flies over, he'll turn his head. So it's not just a sound thing. But Finn is blind. And Finn, he'll go outside and he'll sit in the sunshine, and he feels his way home. He goes by muscle memory, I'm sure, because he's been here ever since 2014, and he knows his way around this place like the back of his paw. But in any case, the vet mentioned taking out the eyes, and I said, well, he can see some. My husband said he can see some shadow and light. I can tell by the way he reacts to things. And he said, well, don't want to take that away from him. So he's got a full cataract on one eye, and the other one doesn't see much of anything. And we're still putting drops in his eyes. All the tests came back fine. He didn't test positive for anything that would explain the eye situation. He did ask one time, had he been in a fight with another cat? And yeah, a few years ago, there was a cat that kept coming up here, and Finn is so territorial, and he got into a big fight with this cat, and his legs were shredded. The backs of his legs were shredded from the cat fight. And we took him to the vet. That was the vet that retired. And he said, it's a good thing you brought him in. He said, these wounds, these cat scratch wounds they're so easily infected. And he got antibiotics then. Well, I never saw that cat again. I have a feeling that cat's wounds were infected. He actually died because some people are just not that observant. He could have been a stray too. Maybe he had no home, and he just went on and passed away somewhere. In any case, my cat is now blind. And it was funny though, my friend Lady Hawk had two cats, and both of them were strays. She found both of them in the barn. One of them, a neighbor had left the cat there over the winter with a bag of food torn open, and went back to their home further south in the warm area in the winter, and left the cat there to fend for itself. And the cat ended up in her barn, and she took the cat and she vetted the cat, and same thing happened with another cat. So she ended up with two cats. And I said, I really need a barn cat. And it wasn't long after that Finn showed up here. Funny thing though, he would never go in the barn. It freaked him out. But so poor Finn is blind, and he's not going to be hunting any more mice. He can't see them. He can't even see to go up the stairs. He goes next to the rail, and he walks up. After he gets on the first step, he's okay, because he can then go up the stairs by memory. He can always find his way to the back door though. So that's the news there. As I was waking up this morning, that seems to be the time I think best, is before I'm fully awake. That time between sleep and waking seems to be the time when my brain actually kicks in. And I was thinking, this is like 3:45 in the morning again, and well, it didn't help that a light came on in my room from outside, and it was a 2-possum morning, let me say. I had to go out there and shoo possums off the deck that were getting into the bag of plastics that we have to take to the dump. I don't know, they smell something in there, they think they can lick clean or whatever. So by then I was really awake, but before that I was thinking, back in the 70s, I graduated high school a year early. I graduated high school in 1973. I was supposed to be a 74 graduate, and I would have been young for a 74 graduate, but in 1973 I graduated high school at the age of 16. And I was what I don't know if they use that term anymore. I was what they used to call a brain. You know, they'd say somebody smart gets good grades, always gets good grades in the honor roll and all that kind of stuff. They say, oh, she's a brain or he's a brain. That's what they used to say. I was a nerd, I was a brain, and I was shy, and I was chubby, and I was like one of the blend into the wallpaper kind of people. But I was in a hurry to get my life started, so I wanted to skip junior year. So at the time, they would let you go to summer school. If you only need a couple credits, they would let you take them in summer school and skip that whole next grade. That's what I did. So I went from 10th grade to summer school to my senior year. And probably not the best decision, because I didn't have any direction then. But I had a group of friends then who were, of course, they were true seniors, and they were all a year or two older than me. And they let me be part of their group. And you know, they weren't the most popular people. They weren't like the football players and the cheerleaders, all that. Well, one of them was. She was very nice. But I used to pal around with these people, and it consisted of several girls and this guy named Gary. Well, I mean, we went everywhere. We cleaned up trash on along the main streets, or we'd go to Stone Mountain. If you don't know about Georgia, Stone Mountain, you know, look it up. Stone Mountain is one of the eight wonders of the world or something. It's a big granite mountain. But we were good friends at that time frame, and we were all sitting at lunch one day, and Gary pops up and he says, what do you think? What do y'all think about being gay? And now, take in mind, this is 1973, and the hippie era is just ending. And I don't remember what anybody else said, but me, in my stupidity, or maybe a little bit of early wisdom, I don't know, a little bit of insight that I wasn't even sure I had. I said, well, that might solve the population explosion, or something along those lines. It would solve our population problem, because at that time there was a very popular book called The Population Bomb. It was published in 1968, and it's by somebody named Paul Ehrlich. I don't know if any of you people my age remember that book, The Population Bomb. And in school, there was a group, and they came and they talked to the school. They were letting us in even then, and our high school, and they, which was Columbia High School in Decatur, Georgia, same one that Mark Chapman graduated from. And I did know Mark Chapman. We were sort of peripheral friends. He had a class with me, enough to recognize me and call me over and things like that. And he was actually very nice to me too. Mark David Chapman, you know, the John Lennon killer, he was in my school and in my classes and things like that. He was one of those people who was actually a true senior. He was ahead of me, but still in my class. But they had these people come and talk to the school, and they were giving out these bumper stickers, and one bumper sticker said, "The population bomb is everybody's baby." And you know, it's interesting. That idea that the world is so overpopulated and we've got to do something about it. The depopulation agenda was even I don't know when it actually started, really, but the rumblings of it were going on way back in the 70s, in the 60s and 70s. And I wasn't, you know, as a kid, I didn't pay attention to that. You know, I was kind of blown about by everything that was happening at the time, you know, that kind of thing. Because you're a kid, you're just not even formed yet. So I just thought that was interesting. And of course, Gary eventually he had a girlfriend in high school, just like every other guy that was gay later had a girlfriend in high school. One of my very close friends did, and every one of these guys, I can think of 4 of them, had either been molested as children, or they were traumatized by some horrible family thing when they were young. One of them, his mother put a gun to her head and blew her brains out when we were in high school. The other one who I was closer to, he and actually became his realtor later. He found out at that time that his dad had an entire secret family he never knew about. They all had girlfriends in high school, so I don't know what all that was. But the depopulation thing, there's so many legs of this. And the idea that, oh, we have too many people and we've got to kill off people. We've got to convince 5-year-olds that they're not really the 6 that they think they are. Start getting them on these puberty blockers, these hormone blockers, and ruin their chances of ever reproducing. In my opinion, that's all part of the same agenda. And the entire calling gender, using the psychological illness, gender dysphoria, as proof that they should be the other sex, and trying to convince them of that, it all plays into the same thing, all plays into the same agenda. But it was just interesting that when I was waking up, I had that memory back to high school and having that conversation, and these people coming and giving us out those bumper stickers and that kind of thing. And it's weird, the things that you think about and remember. I absolutely did not remember that conversation or tie it into what's going on now until I was waking up this morning half asleep. I do my best thinking when I'm half asleep. But that's all I wanted. I just want to tell you that story. It's pretty cold. I don't really have a lot of anything to say. The midterms are coming up. Herschel Walker and Warnock are tied. And the relentless commercials they just don't end. They keep going and going. I mean, 25 times a day I see the same commercial about and they'll have a news person, new disturbing allegations have surfaced about Herschel Walker. Well, they don't tell you that news report was from, God only knows, 15 years ago. I don't know how long ago. It wasn't current, but they never tell you this is not happening now. This is not happening now at all. This hasn't happened in a while. And the very fact that he stands up in front of groups and he's talking about what he did to his wife and how bad he felt about it and all his anger management and how he had to go get psychological help and all this kind of stuff, if people could really think anymore, they would say, wait a minute, that's what recovered people do. People in the middle of that, they don't talk about that and talk about how bad they were, how wrong they were, and apologize for all that. Warnock, on the other hand, he's had allegations of abuse by his wife, and he's never admitted that. He's also, why is nobody bringing up the thing that was brought up before the last election about his church camp and how he obstructed police investigation into child abuse at his church camp? And I mean, it obstructed to the point that they actually had him in handcuffs and arrested him. Let's talk about that. But if you take away all their past, wipe the slate clean, say, okay, you've got some stuff in your past and you got stuff in your past. Let's forget that. Let's talk about policies. It boils down to Warnock is a communist. I saw a picture of him shaking hands with Fidel Castro. I think he had Fidel Castro come to his church he was pastoring or youth pastor of at the time. Fidel Castro, the man who ordered the execution of my father. You can say, well, you hold a grudge. Hell yes, I do. Of course. The man's a communist. We don't need that here. Cuba is a cesspool now. You want this to be a cesspool? You want to be eating your cats and dogs like they're doing in Venezuela? So anyway, I'm going to let you go. That's all I want to do. Just tell you that story. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.